What was the most transformational Lent you've had?
I think when I reflect on a transformational Lent for me, there've been a few of them. And I have to admit that with the liturgical season, sometimes I'm drawn a little bit more to Advent because it's shorter, it feels a little brighter, it has a different kind of a pulse to it. Lent is kind of long, and you make the commitment and you are dialed in. I had someone who was being prepared to be received, completing his sacraments as a Catholic, but who hadn't been practicing the faith. And I remember he said to me, I really, there's something I want to talk to you about. I really have a lot of questions about if I'm going to become a Catholic. And sometimes it's the moral teachings of the church, sometimes it's some issue of sacramental theology. And this person said, tell me about Lent. Is it 40 days? And so it's prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. And so what are some of the things that I should be giving up? I've never done something like this before. And so I've grown up with it. And so you don't think about it. I think about what am I going to do for Lent? What will be those particular practices? But this was somebody who was, really being prepared to live out his faith. And for him, the magnitude, in a beautiful way, the respect that he had for Lent was very impressive to me. And so my point in that is, if you've never experienced a Lent before, the first time you do, you're probably going to be really intentional about it. You're probably going to say, well, what does this mean? What should I do? What am I called to change in my life during this Lent? And so that's a really important principle to maybe approach Lent anew and say, Lord, what do you have for me? When I look back on my Lents, I had one that was particularly transformational because I came to it with a real intentionality. And it was in 1994. I can't even know the year. And I knew at that time I'd been thinking about, whether or not I should enter the seminary. I was practicing law. I was helping to be involved as a volunteer in a lot of young adult activities and so on and so forth. And I was, dating a wonderful woman at the time. And I just really kind of thought, I've been thinking about this priesthood thing on and off, and it's not going away. And I thought, how am I going to just present this before the Lord and say, what are you asking of me? And if you're asking it of me, make it the desire of my heart. So, I could do that any time of year, and I'm not saying everybody should do this, but I really approached that Lent and I said, okay, God, by Good Friday, I want to know. I want an answer. And I'm not always that, I don't want to say confrontational with God, but demanding, But I thought, okay, I had been asking this question for a while. And so, as I said, I was, dating a wonderful young woman at the time. And actually it was kind of a strange thing, what did you give up for Lent? We decided that we were not going to see each other during that Lent because she knew that if this was something that I really needed to work through, that I needed the space to do that. And also knew that might kind of help in the discernment process, even though, that's something unusual to choose to do. But that also included with it daily praying of the rosary at 7 a.m., regardless of where we were, being very intentional in my prayer to give my prayer a focus. So I went on a retreat. I kept a journal. I'm not a big journaler all the time. Periodically I do. So that I could really say, okay, Lord, I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm trying to be almsgiving during this time. And so the Lord was very good during that time. But I think I went with it both with an intentionality and a bit of a focus, a clear focus, and also an expectancy. I really felt that it wasn't too bold to say, God, I'm really asking for an answer. I really need this. And so at the end of that, after the Stations of the Cross on Good Friday, I really did have that solitude in my own discernment. And I thought going into that I had to know whether I was going to be a priest or not. And I realized I should feel a calling to the priesthood. Like, yes, God is calling me. But all I really had to know was whether or not to enter the seminary. And so the Lord gave me that confidence that I knew I was to enter the seminary. I thought I was called to be a priest, but I knew I had to enter the seminary. And so he gave me what I needed. And it's all obviously worked out beautifully. And, the Lord worked out his pattern in our lives in beautiful ways. But that was very intense. I mean, and I know the year, I know the circumstances, I know the time. And I also gave up, I was volunteering in a lot of stuff, which is all good stuff. And I'm not necessarily recommending this for others, but I thought some of that stuff, which was good stuff, just needed to be cleared out. And so I pulled back a little bit it was as a lay minister, you could say. I pulled back a little bit on that to say, okay, Lord, instead of going to all these meetings and really good things, I'm going to take these 40 days to spend more time with you. So yeah, that was a big one, 1994, but the Lord has blessed me tremendously as a result of that.
And blessed us
as a
through
result
you.
of that. That's right, certainly. Well, I've been blessed by being here.